right, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Light Morning Show here on the mighty 91.7 WLFR here on the campus of Stockton University. And we are here with Atlantic City NAACP President, Mr. Kaleem Shabazz. And we invited him to discuss a letter that he wrote to AtlanticCityFocus.com regarding DUI. So rather than put words in his mouth, I'll give him the opportunity to talk about the letter and the NAACP's stance on DUI, and then we'll go from there. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for affording me the opportunity of your very prestigious platform at Stockton. Full disclosure, as you know, I am part of Stockton. My grandson graduated from Stockton. I have been affiliated with Stockton for many years. I'm honored to be on the adjunct faculty staff at Stockton. And I am working with Stockton and Atlantic City to move the community forward. So I have a lot of connections to Stockton, so I'm glad to be here this morning. And really, my written statement of the NAACP position on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion really goes to the theme of our Freedom Fund this year. The theme of our Freedom Fund this year is working on the promise of America. Working on the promise of America. And we believe that to deny our country to have the benefits of all of the people who want to contribute, all of their talents, all of their abilities, all of their efforts is against what America stands for. We believe America is an ideal. America is an idea. America is a lofty goal of human attainment. It's not perfect, but we have to work together to realize some of those goals that started America. The goal of equality, the goal of the ability to move forward based on your ability, the goal of equality, the goal of freedom, the goal of justice. These are some of the things that America was founded on. And I know some people say, well, President Shabazz, wasn't America founded by people who held slaves? And that's true. And people will probably say, if they understand their history, isn't that against the stated goals of this country, the experiment that America is? And they would be correct. But the thing that we were stating is that that's a promise, that's a goal that we have to work towards. And in order to do that, we firmly believe that we need diversity, excuse me, meaning we need more than one way to look at a problem. We need more than one group of people to be in leadership and to advance how this country moves. We need equity, meaning that we need people to be treated fairly. We need people to have their needs met. We need inclusion. We need everyone to be involved. So that was the gist of what I wrote, and that's our stance, not only locally, the national NAACP, the state NAACP. We all believe that America is better when everyone is involved, when everyone has a chance to realize their fullest potential.
Thank you. And I apologize. There was a technical snafu during a portion of what you said, but we definitely got the gist of it. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Light here on 91.7 WLFR. A special guest is the president of the Atlantic City chapter of the NAACP. We're discussing diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the more I've been doing this show and maintaining a what I want to call a fair balance for my guests, I also feel the need that I'm going to have to start a more conversational show, maybe like Let's Talk About It was on on WUSS. And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like a lot of people use woke, DEI, affirmative action as code words. And a lot of times they don't even know what these things mean, but other people have told them that they mean that black people are allowed to get resources and you shouldn't like it. Yeah. Or, members of the LGBTQ community are getting resources, so you shouldn't like it. Or, this person or that person are getting resources and you shouldn't like it. Now let's pretend I didn't say any of that. Let me ask you this. My question is, what would you say to people who say affirmative action, DEI are all reverse racism ploys?
That's a good question, and that's a realistic stance that unfortunately people like President Trump, Elon Musk, and others have used to their political advantage. But I would say even though it has advantaged them politically, it has hurt the country. The truth of the matter is that affirmative action and programs to level the playing field has helped white women more than anyone else, and the statistics bear that out. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I wish I had brought a paper that was handed out at our Atlantic City Youth Council meeting of the NAACP, which was held Saturday. I went there and listened to two very outstanding women of color who were the guest speakers, brought there by the advisor, Charles Goodman. One was a doctor in Atlantic here, talked about her journey in medicine and her fight to bring about health equity and to reduce disparities in health. The other one was a captain in the Atlantic City Police Department, talked about her struggles as a woman in a male-dominated field, and happened to be someone who de-escalated a very dangerous situation in Atlantic City. There was this young man who actually shot two people and was in a hostage standoff, not a hostage, a standoff position with the police. The captain was in charge of the task force that dealt with those kind of situations, and she went in, de-escalated, brought the young man out without him injuring anyone else and without him being injured. And we know too many times, Brother Tyler, when a male of color has an encounter like that with the police, it doesn't end well. In fact, when the statistics show, and we know too often, when law enforcement is called with a male of color, even if it's a mental health issue, it doesn't end well. So she is to be saluted for doing her job in a very professional way. People who say that we don't need DEI would say that she shouldn't even have the job because she got it because she's a female, which is not true. She got it because she was qualified. Right. And she got it because she was professional, and she got it because she knew what she's doing. And the proof of it is that she came to a situation that could have went another way. Yes. A lot of times, a situation like that, a young man with a gun, a young man of color with a gun, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes the police go in blazing, and that's the end of it. Right. But she did it another way, and it turned out for the best of everyone.
Now, did this happen in Atlantic City?
This happened in Atlantic City.
Okay, so in a second, I'm gonna. I know you're on a tight schedule, but in a second, I'm gonna ask you to put on your councilman hat, because I want to talk to you about that. Right. Since you're here. I wish Captain Sarkos was here.
Chief Sarkos.
Chief Sarkos.
Don't get me in trouble, man.
He was here as well, but right. I want to stay on DEI and inclusion for just a little while longer.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm here to 9:30, so.
Okay, all right. So what would you say to someone? No, I'm not even going to say someone. I'm going to talk about myself.
Okay.
I've been what I consider to be a DEI hire
Okay.
at several places.
Okay.
And it's always been my contention that when I come into these places, I'm more qualified than my contemporaries when I step in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is that usually the case?
Well, I'll quote my departed barber, Sonny Lee, who was not only an excellent barber, he was a humanitarian, did great things in Atlantic City before his untimely death. And Sonny Lee used to say that if you're black in America, you have to be twice as good to go half as far. And that's something that our parents told us. Unfortunately, that is still true in America, despite what people have tried to flip it around and say that people are getting undue gains because of their color. We know in reality, women, yourself, know that when you are faced in the real world, you can't not perform, you can't not measure up, you can't be less than and still move forward. And someone will say, well, Councilman Shabazz, President Shabazz, do you contend that people of color, that minorities have made gains on their own? I would say absolutely yes. And that's the reason that the NAACP, that we say we must keep teaching black history. Black history is American history. When you look at people who have made gains in America, people of color, they have been twice as qualified. They've been overqualified. They've overcome obstacles. They've overcome hurdles. They've overcome prejudice and discrimination and racism and misogyny to be successful. So as we move forward, and that's what diversity and equity and inclusion is about, not making things easier, but making things equal so that we can do better. And I don't want to be partisan about it, but if you look at some of the pics of our newly elected president, you can see that it's not on merit and it's not on professionalism, it's not on accomplishments. I mean, you have somebody over the health agencies in this country that is a vaccine denier, that says controversial things not backed by science. You have somebody over the Defense Department who allegedly has or has had a severe drinking problem. You have people over other agencies that have no experience, that have no expertise, that have no credentials, but they have loyalty to the President of the United States. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that because we in the NAACP are Americans. You've attended NAACP meetings, Brother Tyler. You know we open every NAACP meeting with the Pledge to Allegiance of the flag because we believe, and not only we believe, we know that those of us in color have served America. Yes. People have served this country, veterans have served this country, even when they came back and did not receive the rights of other people who served. We have veterans right now who are living today who served in World War II and were treated worse than the German prisoners. Had to stand behind the German prisoners to eat in many places. Were segregated when they came back in facilities in their country in uniform. Yes. We have incidents of veterans who were actually physically assaulted in their uniform. So when people talk about woke and DEI, that belies the history. That's why people with sinister motives, not people who just don't know out of ignorance and don't know that they don't know, but people who know and want to control and suppress the upward movement of people of color. That's why they don't want the history taught. That's why they don't want people to know of the struggles of people of color in this country, to make this country better. That's why we in the NAACP, as you know, you've attended many NAACP meetings, so you know I'm not just saying this, that we open with the Pledge of Allegiance because we believe that with its imperfections, that the United States of America still offers the best opportunity for human growth and development, and we believe and know that people of color have contributed to that growth and development.
Okay. Let's talk about your president.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that he's ever done that surprised me, that I have to give him credit for, what was it, 8 years ago when he was inaugurated the first time?
Yes.
When he rolled out Jeff Sessions, I smiled and said, okay, so at least he can't find nobody worse to do the job than Jeff Sessions. It's the only time he proved me wrong.
Listen, I tell people.
I thought Jeff Sessions was really the bottom of the barrel, and you know, and don't get me wrong, Jeff Sessions has done a lot of scary stuff. I don't want him back. So
he's not coming back. You can believe that. But one thing about President Trump, and he is our president. We only get one president at a time. Although we disagree adamantly with his policies, with his rhetoric, with his actions. We know President Trump in this area. He was here. I was telling one of my colleagues from New Jersey. I said, we know
nobody from
Trump.
Atlantic City is surprised by the way what he's doing right now.
We are not. We know him chapter and verse, and he was the same when he was here, except he didn't have power. And we know this about President Trump. We know he's transactional, meaning that he does whatever he thinks is in his best interest at the time. Because if you can remember, Trump Plaza was the boxing mecca of the East Coast.
Yes.
He had boxers and rappers, and he was around people. That's why some people say today, will say, well, Councilman, President Trump is not anti-black. Look at how he was friendly with Snoop Dogg and Mike Tyson and Don King and all the people in the boxing circle.
He was actually a Democrat at that time.
He was. And that's true, he was. He did that because that benefited him as a casino owner and as someone who was in charge of Trump Plaza because it made money. And we must know that he went bankrupt in a lot of those things. And so when he talks about excellence and financial acuity and all that, we know that on his record, his business record, he has 4 or 5 bankruptcies. And I would suggest that if he were a person of color that had 4 or 5 bankruptcies, that had a sexual assault conviction, that had 34 felonies, that he would not be the president of the United States. In fact, he would not be a local elected official with that kind of record. In fact, he wouldn't be a committeeman in the Democrat or the Republican Party if he stood with that kind of record and said, my name is, don't forget Donald Trump, put any name in here, Robert Smith, Joe Jones, Ray Tyler, and this is my record, I want you to vote for me. And they said, well, is it true that you have 34 felonies? Yes. Is it true that you have been convicted of sexual assault? Yes. Is it true that you've had several bankruptcies? Yes. And I want you to vote for me. I'm sure, as I can be of anything, that he would not get elected. So the whole DEI pushback is really a scam. It's a cover to take America back. And I don't think it's going to work. In fact, I'm sure it's not going to work. The reality is that there are more people who are for fairness, who are for justice, who are for tolerance, who are for a country that works together than there are people who want to go back to America 50, 60 years ago. We're never going to go back, and I predict that Trump's going to crash and burn. And I don't say that with any relish because I am an American, and I want this country to prosper. But with the likes of Elon Musk being unelected and off the hook, as people say, and President Trump being elected and off the hook, that's a bad combination. We have to change it.
You're listening to The Light, powered by AtlanticCityFocus.com, and we're here with President of the NAACP.
That's all right. That's okay.
Atlantic City Chapter, Kaleem Shabazz, and we're discussing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a letter that he wrote and was published, and you can read right now at AtlanticCityFocus.com. And it is taking everything in me not to ask certain questions of way too much into the weeds.
Go ahead, ask whatever you want. I'm comfortable with
I hear you. Well, my biggest question is probably above your pay grade, and I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to it.
Okay.
But I'll frame it like this. If I walk right over there and shove you right now,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody asks you, "Did you shove Councilman Shabazz?" "Yeah, I shoved him."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll shove him again if I feel like it. Because I'm a man and I stand on business, and if I did something, I did it. Now, that's not to say that I'm proud of everything that I've done in my past. I've made mistakes like everyone else, but I don't run from them and act like they're not what they are. I'm not especially fond of bigots, and I don't believe in reformed bigots or reformed racists. I've always said that. I mean that. So then my question has always been like, okay, like for some of these police we see, calling black people out of their name and things of that nature on tape, and then when you get them in a courtroom, they don't have the same bravado. They don't have the same. Why not? You was, when you thought nobody was taping you, or even when you thought somebody was taping you, and you had immunity, it wasn't a problem. Why can't they stand on business and just say who it is that they are and what it is they represent, if it's so good for them and for America?
You're right. That might be above my grade.
That's above your pay grade. I know.
I think really it's kind of simple. When they get in a situation where they might be held accountable, they go into survival mode. And I think that's anybody. That's a bully. A bully is on point when they are in charge of a situation.
Right.
When they can take your lunch money, or they can harass you. I saw a thing in TV when I was leaving this morning. New York News. They had this lady, and my heart goes out to her. I don't know her, never seen her before. She doesn't know me. She was a 19-year detective in the New York Police Department, and she was a mother of 3. Her family income was reduced because of COVID, and they didn't explain why. They just said that. And she's in the interview testifying with her lawyer sitting next to her. Her commander forced her into sexual favors in order for her to get overtime that she needed because of a family situation that changed.
Wow.
And it was heart-wrenching as she was explaining the situation. And the commander was the highest ranking police officer in the New York Police Department. He abruptly retired as a result of her filing an EEOC complaint. Another one of the agencies that this administration wants to close down, which again we're adamantly against. And here's the strange thing about it, Tyler. The lady, officer, I believe, I don't think she was a sergeant, anything like that. Anyway, the female police officer happened to be a woman of color, and her commander, who allegedly did these acts that she is accusing her of and forcing her sexually, was a man of color.
Well,
so
yeah.
I say that to say that for those of our brothers and sisters who say that it's based on people's color, no, it's based on their character and their morality and how people see themselves and how people treat other people based on how they see themselves. So that's my long answer to those police officers who act one way in the street and another way in court. They see the people that they police, excuse me, as other than themselves. They don't see the young men of color that they police as their sons or their nephews or their cousins or their grands.
Or even their neighbors.
Or even their neighbors. So they don't treat them as they would want to be treated. So they do that, but when they come to court, that's their day of reckoning, and they act differently. My hope is that as we move forward, and that's one of the things, as you know, we do in the NAACP, we have a working relationship with law enforcement to help change and help make the interaction better. We need law enforcement. The NAACP does not accept the concept or the slogan or the belief of defund the police. We don't believe in that. But we do.
Why not? Why not? Because
I'll tell you
I think this program works better when I do just ask the questions and let you answer. But I see the value in, and I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Mayor Marty Small and to Chief Sarkos for the current culture that we have in Atlantic City, because I believe it is better and getting better day by day.
I know it is. Yeah.
With that being said, I do see the value of calling 911 and saying, I don't need a police officer, but I need a mental health advocate to come and talk to my grandfather who will not stop walking back and forth in traffic.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm
you
glad you
understand
said
what
that.
I'm saying?
Let me put on my councilman's hat. In Atlantic City, I think it was summer before last, on Pacific Avenue in North Carolina, which is near resorts. For people who are not familiar with Atlantic City, in the summer, that's a very highly trafficked area. In the summer, this young man of color was on the corner of North Carolina and Pacific Avenue in the summer, walking up and down the middle of the street.
Okay.
The police were called.
Right.
3 police officers responded.
Right.
They de-escalated the situation. They took this young man into custody, because he had to be taken into custody, and they got him mental health treatment. And what we did, we, the city council, we put forth a resolution. I led it, and all my council colleagues got on to it.
Okay.
And we saluted those 3 officers. We brought them before city council.
Wow.
Thanked them and gave them the resolution. I say that because that is an example of what should happen when people have a situation. I juxtapose that, Brother Tyler, to the situation in Ventnor. There was a young man of color. He'd gotten some kind of domestic issue, and he was walking up and down. He had a broken bottle, allegedly. He allegedly threatened the police, and he ended up getting killed. What's my point? My point is that the police can act appropriately when they have the proper training and the proper coordination and the proper involvement with the community. Right now in Atlantic City, as we speak, there is a program that speaks directly to what you're talking about. When there's a mental health issue, when someone calls the police and say, my cousin is acting out, my sister, my brother, whatever, they have a knife, they have a gun, they're threatening people, they're locked up in the house, they won't come out. And they call 911, when the police respond, they respond with a mental health professional, with them, embedded with them. And that mental health professional takes the lead. The police are there as backup, but the mental health professional is there in his or her capacity as a mental health professional. And I say that because in too many instances, right here in New Jersey, that hasn't happened. There's an incident in North Jersey, I believe it's Fort Lee. There was a young lady, and she was a person of color. She happened to be Asian, and she had mental health issues. Her family called the police. I forget the exact circumstance of the incident, but the police came and they ended up shooting and killing her. And that community has been up in arms. And that has happened not only a mental health issues, happens up. I remember an incident in Philly, I think it was West Philly. The police were called on this kid, and I say kid, he was like 12 years old. And they came up, they jumped out of the car, and in 30 seconds they shot the young man and killed him. It happened in Ohio. It's a lot of incidents like that.
Right.
That's what I said.
Right.
Defund the police, no. Remove the police from our areas. I know that I speak for many of my constituents, again, as a council person,
Right.
who know that the area that they are in is sometimes unsafe.
Right.
Not because of people who come outside of the community and come into the community, but people who do antisocial things who are in their community.
Right.
Many
Right.
times young people. Not all young people, not even the majority of the young people, not even a sizable minority of young people, but young people in the community, and sometimes older people in the community who are doing things against the best interests of the community, who are doing things that are sometimes violent. And when you have that, you need a response that matches the magnitude of their offense. Not all the time, but if someone comes into your house or my house and breaks in with a gun, you need to be able to match that. I'm not saying that people should be armed and all that. That's up to people's individual rights within the law.
Right.
But I am saying that for society to run in a organized, stable manner, that unfortunately you need a police force. But that police force must be a force that is rooted in equity and justice and stability for everyone. And I think we are making great strides towards that in Atlantic City. And believe me, I'm not saying, because I don't want you to get bombarded with emails and calls, that I came on here and said that Atlantic City has a 100% perfect relationship with the policing community. We don't. But we are making progress. And I can say, even before I got on city council, when I was just a citizen, not just a citizen, when I was a citizen, I would watch the council meetings on TV. And there would be people lined up from the front of the city hall to the back of the city hall making complaints about the canines and how the canine dogs were responding in our community. Mayor Langford, my neighbor, to his great credit, responded by taking the canine unit off of the street because of the complaints.
Right.
And there was a skyrocketing number of internal affairs complaints. You can get the chief on there, he can give you the exact numbers.
Right.
We don't have that in Atlantic City now.
Right.
We don't have internal affairs complaints. We don't have allegations of brutality. We don't have canines running wild. Is it perfect? 100%? No. But it's much, much better. It's significantly better. It's measurably better. We can see by the statistics and people in the street. And I'm not saying that if you take a street survey of Atlantic City, or if you take a more scientific survey, that people will say they're 100% pleased, but they will say that things are better. I don't think anyone will say that they're not better. And that only means that we have to keep pushing forward to make it even better.